$1.87. That was all, and 60 cents of it was in pennies. Pennies saved 1 and 2 at a time by Della, hard bargaining the grocer and the vegetable man until her cheeks burned with the shame of it. 3 times Della counted the money, $1.87, and the next day would be Christmas. There was clearly nothing to do but flop down on the shabby little couch and howl. So Della did. While the mistress of the home is gradually subsiding from the stage of sobs to the longer stage of sniffles, let's take a look at the home. A furnished flat at $8 a week. It did not exactly beggar description, but it certainly had that word on the lookout for the vagrancy squad. In the vestibule below was a small letterbox into which no letter would fit, and an electric bell from which no mortal finger could coax a ring. Beside these was a card bearing the name Mr. James Dillingham Young. The Dillingham had been flung in breezily during a former period of prosperity, when its possessor was being paid $30 a week. Now, when the income was shrunk to $20, the letters of Dillingham looked blurred, as though they were thinking of contracting to a modest and unassuming D. But whenever Mr. James Dillingham Young came home and reached his flat up the stairs from this long name card, he was called Jim, and greatly hugged by Mrs. James Dillingham Young, already introduced to you as Della. So, now Della had finished her cry and attended to her cheeks with the powder rag. She stood by the window and looked out at a gray cat walking a gray fence in a gray backyard. Tomorrow would be Christmas Day, and she had only $1.87 with which to buy Jim a present. Between the windows of the room there was a strip of looking-glass. Perhaps you have seen the extent of a looking-glass in an $8 flat. A very thin and very agile person may, by observing his reflection in a rapid sequence of longitudinal segments, obtain a fairly accurate conception of his looks. Della, being slender, had mastered the art. Now, suddenly she whirled from the window and stood before this looking-glass. Her eyes were shining brilliantly, but her face had drained of color. Rapidly she pulled down her hair and let it fall to its full length. Now, there were 2 possessions of the James Dillingham Youngs in which they both took a mighty pride. One was Jim's gold watch that had been his father's and his grandfather's. The other was Della's hair. Had the Queen of Sheba lived in the flat across the air shaft, Della would have let her hair hang out the window to dry some days just to depreciate the value of all Her Majesty's jewels. Had King Solomon been the janitor, with all his treasures piled up in the basement, Jim would have pulled out his watch every time he passed just to see him pluck at his beard from envy. So now Della's beautiful hair fell about her, rippling and shining like a cascade of brown waters. It reached below her knees and almost made itself into a cloak for her. Then she did the hair up again nervously and quickly, faltering only for a minute, holding still as a tear or two splashed down towards the worn red carpet. On went her old brown jacket, on went her old brown hat.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?